Hello. In this video we're going to discuss the discovery of cooked meat and the problem with Moses, part 2. So as discussed in the previous video, the discovery of cooked meat led to the discovery of pork and cooked food. In the first history this was a big deal. It led to all the angels in heaven and God and Mary and Jesus wanting to eat more pork. And so parties came to Planet One and hunted pigs. Later in the first history, God was curious. He had a planet which was like a swamp in a particular area, which was quite vast, and it had in it the pink pig. So the first pig discovered was wild boar in Belize. The pink pig existed on another planet, and upon showing this to the angel who was a hunter, he promptly went closer and closer and closer to the wormhole that they were viewing this planet through, and fell through it. He fell a considerable distance and landed in the swamp, luckily, and didn't get killed. He then ran out and grabbed a couple of pigs because they were just there. There was no predator on this planet for those pigs. God then lowered the wormhole and the hunter was able to return to heaven. And he got a good telling off for doing it. What this led to was God creating more planets of pigs where they were farmed. Later in the first history, upon the creation of the Holy Spirit and research into soul material, soul DNA, and how soul particles are knitted together, it was experimented upon the testing of the canine tooth after it was observed that wolves could devour meat quite quickly compared to an angel. God and the angels all had flat teeth. Alright, so they had no canine teeth, and so this led to experiments with canine teeth. And what was discovered was that the best balance was 2 sets of canine teeth in the upper and lower jaw. And so that's why we have canine teeth to this day. God is different. God experimented with more canine teeth and was happy with 4 sets on the upper and lower jaw of canine teeth. So that's another thing that people will find when they meet God, as he has an extra couple of canine teeth on each side. In the first history, more discoveries were made regarding food, and we'll get to that later, regarding other food types. In Belize, it may be found monuments like the pyramids, like Stonehenge, that represent these scientific discoveries that I just mentioned earlier in the first video. So the discovery of the rabbit, the discovery of flint, and the discovery of the pig, of pork. There might be monuments in Belize that represent these. So it might be something for people to check out. Regarding the Exodus and Moses, it's a scandal in heaven, and Moses is still in purgatory over it. It is a terrible thing that happened during the Exodus, which led to an entire people being denied the opportunity to consume pork. During the Exodus, a number of incidences happened that were removed from scriptures. They were originally there, but someone else removed them. So a person that was involved in this was in fact Satan. So Satan and Baal influenced Moses and Aaron during the Exodus. And the particular points where they influenced these two men, one of them was at Mount Sinai. So at Mount Sinai, Moses and the leaders of the tribes went to the top of Mount Sinai. And what in fact happened up there was they had a feast with God, Mary, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and other angels. And during this time, some pigs were brought out and killed and cooked. And that was part of the feast, the pork. Moses loved the pork. Up to that point, they'd actually eaten it. When they came down Mount Sinai to the valley, where everyone else was staying, Aaron approached Moses, and Aaron was possessed by Satan. Moses informed Aaron that he'd just been to a great feast up the top of the mountain with God. And Moses told him about pork. Aaron then said straight away, "No, you must never eat pork, and our people must never ever eat pork ever." Moses then went and informed everybody that was there that that was the new law. God then came down the mountain and spoke directly to Moses and informed him that what he's done is a sin and he's going to go to purgatory over it. And Moses, after he passed away, has been in purgatory ever since. During the Exodus, many sacrifices were made of animals because it was Aaron's idea. So that's where these sacrifices came from. In the desert, the people during the Exodus had no money. The Egyptian people did not give them any gold, contrary to what you read in the Bible. They were slaves that ran away from Egypt. That's the reality of it. So they just took with them the shirt on their backs, and that was it. They had to survive in the desert. They did acquire equipment over time, but in the environment that they were surviving in, they couldn't afford to sacrifice animals, and Aaron had them do it, and in the process, all the people almost starved. The laws that Moses brought in, including especially the resting on the seventh day, denied people the opportunity to go hunting. There was an angel with them who went hunting anyway and brought back food, including pigs. And the people were quite angry with Moses over this because they had to starve all day. They had nothing to live on. So on the seventh day, they had a problem. And other problems occurred when they started killing off all the livestock for these sacrifices. They did not have any livestock with them as they were traveling across the desert. It was just that as they passed certain key points, there happened to be some stock grazing in the wild, and they were hunted and brought in and killed and cooked and eaten. There's evidence of the Exodus out in the desert. There are springs that were created by miracles in order to keep all the people of the Exodus, all the Hebrew people, alive in the desert. These springs still exist to this day, and they involve a wormhole from another dimension that's full of water that's bigger than this universe. It's a tiny wormhole, and it emits water into springs that are pure and clean. So the problem with Moses regarding these laws, which still exist in the Bible and the Old Testament, some people still think it's a bad idea to eat pork. It is not. It was a problem that occurred in the early days about this. When Moses passed away, he wound up in the storage dimension because the plan was for everyone who died would go to the storage dimension and in soul form and gather there. And then when Jesus died on the cross, Jesus would go to the storage dimension, a bridge would be open, which is a wormhole, and everyone who wanted to go to heaven would go through that wormhole and go to heaven. Upon arriving in the storage dimension, which we call hell, which is pitch black, you can't see anything, all we can do is talk. Everyone complained bitterly of Moses for having starved. Some people actually starved to death because of him. And then years later, more people died of starvation and wound up in the storage dimension and complained to Moses about it. People such as Noah and Adam and Eve also spoke to Moses and told him that they used to eat pork. What's wrong with it? And that they were trained to hunt animals, including pigs, in order to survive in the wild. So the problems from there went to heaven for Moses. So after Jesus died on the cross, everyone went to heaven. Moses is actually an angel from heaven, an archangel. He returned to heaven and in God and Mary's hall was told off by God and sent straight to purgatory. He's been there ever since. He will eventually someday complete purgatory, and hopefully he'll be able to address the people on earth and explain what happened so that people will know from him what actually happened, and to understand that there's nothing wrong with eating pork. I am the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.